Now, of course, when people get to know you, they'll judge you by more than just how you appear, but physical, outside, inside. Here's what's good advice. Make sure the outside is an excellent reflection of the inside. Interesting phrase written. It says, God looks on the inside, people look on the outside. So you got to take care of both. The inside for God and the outside for people. What's the old phrase? You never have a second chance to make a first impression. So the outside appearance is also valuable as well as inside vigor and vitality. Somebody says people shouldn't judge you by your appearance. Let me give you a clue. They do. Take care of both. I looked up the word character in the dictionary. I learned the origin of the word, and then I just sat there for a minute and realized that in this case, the origin of the word just about says it all. So I'm going to tell you where the word character comes from, and I hope it has as big an effect on you as it did on me. But first I want to just quickly mention the origins of another word that people often confuse with character, just to clarify the differences. That other word is charisma, and I think that it's often confused with character today. But charisma is really quite different. Charisma is derived from a Greek word meaning an ability to elicit favor in other people. It's a magnetic quality of personality that people respond to as if it were magic. Charisma is almost like a magic wand that confers power over others. But character has a very different origin. Character comes from a Greek word meaning chisel, or the mark left by a chisel. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's very important. Character is derived from the Greek word for chisel. And of course, a chisel is a sharp steel tool used for making a sculpture out of a hard or difficult material like granite or marble. And a chisel is also used for stripping away waste material from an object, stripping away stuff that might get in the way in order to get down to the essential thing, the thing that really matters. You've got to chisel your character out of the raw material of yourself, just like a sculptor has to create a statue. The raw material is always there. Everything that happens to you, good or bad, is an opportunity for building your character. Let me point out another important distinction between character and charisma. You may have noticed it already. In both its definition and its derivation, character doesn't refer to other people. It doesn't refer to having power over other people or getting other people to follow you or gaining favor with other people. Character is something that you have and that you are. You could be marooned on a desert island, and your character would still be important. In fact, it would likely be very important in that situation. But charisma wouldn't do you any good at all. Charisma requires the presence of others, while character is all about you. Character is the person you are after you've chiseled and have gotten past all the unnecessary material to what's underneath. But since we're usually surrounded by other people, let me be a little more specific about how the differences between a charismatic person and a person with character can play out in the real world, particularly in leadership situations. Here are 4 sets of circumstances that can easily occur. First, a really charismatic person can make people believe there's pie in the sky, or that the sky is going to fall tomorrow, one just as easily as the other. By creating these expectations, charismatic individuals can indeed energize and inspire others, or terrify and demotivate them, until the overblown scenarios are proven false and the charisma runs out. But a person of character doesn't need to be anyone's Pied Piper and isn't comfortable in that role. Instead, he or she looks within for the true source of inspiration and energy. Second, a charismatic person can inspire devoted or even fanatical loyalty. But this can all too easily turn into an unconscious sense of dependency, and that can make matters difficult when the leader is no longer available. Like a charismatic coach, effective during the glory years, but when he leaves the organization, there is a sense of abandonment, and the team may never achieve anything like its prior success. Powerful personalities often resist delegating authority, but it's an attitude of character for a leader to refrain from making himself or herself the indispensable heart and soul of an organization. Here's a third difference between character and charisma that's particularly important in a leadership situation. Charismatic people have to keep pulling rabbits out of the hat. The magic of their presence has got to keep expressing itself, or people might start wondering where it went. Worse yet, they might start getting bored. There were plenty of charismatic individuals around, such as Churchill, Montgomery, de Gaulle, and Patton. What was needed was somebody with toughness, stamina, and ability to manage people. Just before the Normandy invasion in 1944, Eisenhower met with a group of officers who would be going into battle. He stretched out a piece of string on a table and pulled it a few inches with his finger. "An army is like this piece of string," he said. "If you try to push it from behind, it just tangles and doubles back on itself. Soldiers have to be led from the front, not pushed from behind." Eisenhower may not have been colorful, but he could definitely get his point across in a way anyone could understand. He had character in the true sense. One of the biggest pitfalls for a charismatic leader comes straight from his or her ability to inspire love and devotion. And this is the last point I want to make. In order to bask in the warm glow of a leader's approval, people may become reluctant to voice disagreements. There are people who become isolated because subordinates are afraid of them. But the same isolation can occur as a result of misplaced affection. People of character are usually well loved by everyone around them, but they make it clear that their own first love is for the truth, even if it hurts. Because character is what's left after charisma is gone. I'd like to elaborate a bit on a comparison I made earlier about how creating your character is like an artist creating a sculpture. The essential point is this: I don't think character is something that just happens by itself, any more than a chisel can create a work of art without the hand of an artist guiding it. In both instances, a conscious decision has been made. A conscious process of design is at work. Character is the result of hundreds and hundreds of choices you may make that gradually turn who you are at any given moment into who you want to be. If that decision-making process is not present, you'll still be somebody. You'll still be alive, but may have a personality rather than a character. And to me, that's something very different. You build character out of certain qualities that you must create and diligently nurture within yourself, just like you would plant and water a seed or gather wood and build a campfire. You've got to look for those things in your heart and in your gut. You've got to chisel away in order to find them, just chiseling away rock in order to create the sculpture that has previously existed only in your imagination. But the really amazing thing about character is that if you're sincerely committed to making yourself into the person you want to be, you'll not only create those qualities, you'll strengthen them and recreate them in abundance, even as you're drawing on them every day of your life. For the people who are always late, what do they care? They're not there when you get there. It doesn't matter, but if you truly want to make progress, not alienate, right, in the marketplace, here's what's acceptable to everybody. Being on time, right? Stand guard at the door of your mind. Spend time. Be a selective listener. But you got to have a good diet, a good mental diet. When you walk into a home and walk into the pantry of the kitchen, you take a look what's in there. This family is either going to be healthy or it isn't going to be healthy. A lot depends on what's in the cupboard, what you bring home, right, from the grocery store that you feast on for the body. Now here's what's important, a proper menu for the mind to make sure that it's got a wide range of nourishment, because the mind needs the full education. Now that starts to develop the foundation for what we call a good life, a productive life, a fulfilled life. And we need this mental input. 2 days is a little staggering in terms of a crash program. And you couldn't do it every week, a couple of days every week. It would be too much. But a couple of days to just really concentrate for a while. Hopefully I send you away from here tomorrow a little mind weary. To taking all these notes and trying to get it all and trying to think about it while you take notes. I know it's an intense session of a couple of days, but I'm telling you, it's going to be so valuable for me to express it and for you to get it. Because then you just load up your wagon full of stuff here. Mental wagon to take it home and sort it out and decide what's valuable to try today, some that you're going to think about a little bit later, but now at least you've got it, so that you'll have mental food to feast on long after the lights are out and we've left the premises. So, feed the mind, debate, exercise, a continual diet. You can't go too long in between the classes and the schools and the seminars and the sermons where things are being taught of value. Here's what else is important. You got to go to everything you can afford. Have a good plan, weekly plan, monthly plan to go to a variety of things, And don't miss the chance. Even if you're involved in a certain company and they say, we're going to have a training class, you say, I've been to one of those. I'm asked, you got to go again, and you got to go again. You can't get it all the first time. Here's what the early Christians were taught. Don't neglect the assembly. Why? We got a brand new idea. One is it's being challenged. We need the strength of each other and the exchange of ideas to make this thing grow. And 2,000 years later, it's a very vigorous movement. But they were taught when it started, don't neglect to get, every time they call a meeting, make sure you're there every time they call a meeting. And whatever industry you're in, whatever company you're in, when they call a meeting, make sure you're there. When they call a little training class, make sure you're there. Here's why. Some of them are going to be life-changing. And you don't know which experience is going to be life-changing. You can't pick the one. You just got to go. One is life-changing. You go, another one is life-changing. You go again, another one is life-changing. For the people that were there, somebody that you met, something that you heard, and that one was just perfect. The atmosphere was right, the crowd was right, and everything was right, and you'll never be the same again. And you don't know which one that's going to be. That's why you've got to pursue. Go often, have a good plan for the search of knowledge and ideas that can inspire to the best of your potential. So now we've got the physical, we've got the spiritual, we've got the mental parts of personal development. Now let's keep going. Ideas plus inspiration. Make the note, we need ideas for goals and plans to design our life for the future. Tomorrow we'll do the workshop, setting goals for the next 10 years. Ideas for plans to achieve those goals. But here's what else we need, inspiration. Emotional vitality. Without that, the ideas won't progress very far. They may serve you to just get by, but I'm sure you haven't spent this kind of money and this kind of time to pick up ideas just to get by. But we want to be able to flourish. However, that is a human being's two major objectives. And you might make these notes. One is to survive. First, we must learn to survive. Second, then we learn to succeed, which is beyond survival. But most people settle in just in the survival mode, enough to get by. They've got all these resources to tap, and they don't tap them because they're getting by. Well, their kids aren't starving. They got a roof over their head and some clothes to wear and food to eat. But to go way beyond that, to flourish, not just to survive, but to flourish, I'm sure that's what all of us are here these 2 days for, to find more ideas on how to do that. Now, the idea part is fairly basic and upfront, right? We're going to talk about time management ideas. We're going to talk about leadership ideas. We're going to talk about good health ideas. We're going to talk about all kinds of ideas. And they're fairly easy to put forward. Here's what's a little more tricky, inspiration. Who knows why one's inspired and one is not inspired? Here's what I call it, It's a good thing to remember for the rest of your life. It's called the mysteries of the mind. And you'll be confronted with that forever, the mysteries. Here's what we have to do with most mysteries. Leave them mysteries. And learn to be curious instead of dismayed. Say, why is it this way? Say, I don't know. You get your own planet, you could rearrange it some other way. On this planet, we seem to be guests. So you figure out how this one works, whoever set it up, right? We follow how it's been set up. Then if you get a chance for a planet, then you can rearrange the whole deal. Say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So if you ever get that chance, you can do that. But hey, on this one, it was prearranged before we dropped in here. But on the spinning planet headed somewhere, right, what is the deal? And part of it is a mystery. One of the mysteries, where did we come from? Where are we going? Some of those are a bit unfathomable. We try our best to understand. One writer said, what? We see through the dark glass. We think we've just about got it figured out, but it's a little hazy, it's a little dark. We can't see it quite as clear. But all of our lifetime, we keep searching for ways to see it better. Someday, hopefully it'll all be clear. But some things are mysteries. I do a seminar like this, someone walks out and says, I'm going to change my life. Someone else walks out and says, oh, I've heard all this stuff before. Why two different reactions to the same seminar? Just make the note, it's a mystery. And I haven't tried to solve that. So I'm going to make everybody walk out and say, I'm going to change my life. See, no, you can't do that. It's going to be however it's going to be. And the key is to be curious and not dismayed. Let the mysteries be mysteries. Interesting story says the day the Christian church was started, a magnificent sermon was preached. And if you read the account of the sermon that was preached the first day the Christian church was started, it was a magnificent sermon. And it was a magnificent occasion. It said there was a multitude that heard this sermon, meaning what? A lot of people heard it. But there was an incredible variety of reaction to the people that heard the sermon. It said some that heard the sermon were perplexed. And I thought, wow, this looked like a pretty straightforward sermon to me. Why would anyone be perplexed? And here's the simple answer. They are the perplexed. If you try to figure that out, you go crazy. And here's what I learned to do. Leave the perplexed perplexed. You can't straighten this out. It said some that heard this great sermon laughed at the speaker and mocked, laughed and made fun of him. I'd say, well, hey, this guy looked pretty sincere to me. Why would anyone laugh and mock? And it's a simple answer. They are the laughers and the mockers. And there's nothing you can do about that. You can't straighten it out and you can't turn it around. You just have to let be whatever is and let it be rather mysterious, but learn to be curious and not dismayed. Then it said some that heard this sermon didn't know what was going on. And they're easy to spot. They're usually saying, what's going on, right? They don't know what's going on. So he says, they should know. Your shoulds and shouldn'ts ain't going to affect them. It's like saying the sun should come up in the west. No, you got to leave this stuff alone. Just let the mysteries be mysteries and let what happens, let that all be. Some were perplexed, some mocked and laughed, some didn't know what was going on. But here's the rest of the story. It said some that heard the sermon believed. And that's who the speaker was looking for, the believers mixed in this whole mysterious array of human reaction to the same presentation. And you've just got to let this whole mixture of reaction be a mixture of reaction. And you can't be dismayed by it. Otherwise, the only cure for it is to get your own planet. Otherwise, there is no cure. Because I used to try to straighten all this stuff out. In the beginning, I used to say, I'll make him successful if it kills me. I almost died. You can't do that. It said some believed. And that's who the speaker was looking for, the believers out of this massive audience of a multitude. Now, here's what was interesting. It said the number that believed was about 3,000. So it was a pretty good first day. So make the note. You can have a good day in spite of the mystery. In spite of the mystery of reaction, in spite of who's who, in spite of what happens, in spite of the full variety of human reaction and human behavior, in spite of the whole mix in each community, in each place, in each school, wherever, in spite of this whole mysterious mix of how things are and how humans react and how they behave, here's what you can have: a good day. 3,000 the first day. Wouldn't you call that a good day? 3,000. I've had some pretty good days, but not 3,000. Amazing. So, let the mysteries be mysteries, but inspiration. Hopefully I've caught you at the right time where you'll be inspired to listen, inspired to take notes, and then inspired to give it a try. And this is all I ask after the seminar is finished. Just try some of this stuff. Some of the ideas I'm going to share with you the next 2 days. Just give it a try. You never know till you try, Papa said. See if it'll work for you. And then here's what's next. Refine it all as you go. First you learn, then you try, then you refine, then you evaluate, and then you pass it on. But here's the key, is to turn response into results. I appreciate applause, but applause is not the deal. For me, here's what's valuable, is to have this stuff work in someone's life, to have it make a difference in someone's income, have it make a difference in someone's financial future, have it make a difference in someone's health, measurable difference in someone's future and health. That's my game. And if I can give you something that'll help make a measurable difference as time passes, see, that's what's it for me. Key phrase, results, is the name of the game. I do another seminar called The 5 Major Pieces. It's also the title of a book, but here's those pieces. 1 is philosophy. We're affected by what we know. Next is attitude. We're affected by how we feel. 3rd is activity, or disciplines, or work. Labor, it's called. We're affected by what we do. And number 4 is results. Learn to measure and count to see how you're doing. Making progress is the name of the game. And here's how I describe it. Measurable progress in reasonable time. That's what we ask of our kids. That's what we ask of everybody. Make measurable progress in reasonable time. But results is the name of the game. We don't study philosophy just for philosophy, or attitude just for attitude, or discipline just for discipline. These things by themselves serve no purpose. But these 3 items invested in labor, in the work, produces results. Now we measure our results to see how our disciplines are working, how our attitude is working, and how our philosophy is working. And if the results aren't to your liking, there's only 3 places to check: discipline, attitude, philosophy, personal philosophy. It's a pretty simple process. Some people check interest rates. That's not where the real problem probably is. Check what you know. You may need more knowledge. Check how you feel. You may need to adjust your attitude. And check your discipline, so you may need to add a couple to the ones you're already engaged in. And that'll start immediately to changing the results that you can measure, that you can count. And you might add one more word here, weigh. Okay, weigh and count and measure. Because that's the game, is productivity, progress and productivity. Then something we're going to talk about, which was number 5, which is lifestyle. Because here's the ultimate expression of life, and that's to live a good life. Living well is the ultimate expression, not philosophy, not attitude, but living well. Hopefully I'll give you some guidelines that have come my way, translating response to results. Make these notes. To get the most out of the 2 days, here's number 1. Everybody would agree on number 1. Be thankful for what you already have. Here's the next one. Be eager to learn. I know all of you already know a lot, but be eager to learn the rest. I've learned a lot in my years, but I'm eager to learn the rest. Now I'm trying to capsulize my learning. I'm trying to accelerate my learning, right? Because I don't have a couple hundred years left. So I've got to accelerate my learning curve, especially in the next 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years. And I'm asking you to do the same. An accelerated learning curve to maximize the time to learn as much now in 1 year as you used to learn over 5 years. Just accelerate the curve. Eager to learn. No matter how much you know, you can always learn a bit more. Improve your life, sometimes to a startling degree. Some of the great fortunes of the world were made, what? After someone turned 50, 60. Because now they've got all this experience. Now when an idea comes, they invest 50 years. They invest 60 years in this idea, and it explodes into fortune. So as maturity comes along, what a great time now to come up with good ideas, because now you can maximize their possibilities because of your maturity in what you already know. So be eager to grasp that next idea, because it could explode your health, explode your life. It could start a whole new realm of future for you at dimensions you never even thought of, the next idea, the next couple of ideas. So be eager to learn no matter how rich you are, how healthy you are, where you are. So no matter where you are, be eager for that next idea. Some of you have been teaching like I have for years and years, but be ready for the next idea, because it could explode now your teaching career. It could add new dimensions because of where you are and because of your age and because of your maturity and because of whatever. The next effort you make to get something, no telling what that may add in terms of multiplication in your life and your ability to affect the lives of other people. Amazing. Here's what also I'd ask you to do: argue later with all the stuff I'm going to cover. Wish we had time to debate every issue, because a lot of this stuff's up for debate. Nobody knows that better than me. And I've been doing my best all these years to debate my point of view, as well as to listen from the other point of view. I would ask you to argue later, because we don't have time to open up discussion for every point that I'm going to cover in the next 2 days. But here's what's important: debate all major issues. Some issues are fairly obvious. Say, well, I can see the positive side of that right away. But some need discussion. Now here's what's valuable: to discuss some things with someone else. Debate back and forth. In Israel, one of the great forms of learning is debate. You walk into the classroom, wow, sounds like confusion. Or they get a hold of an idea, and one gets on one side, and one takes one position, the other one takes the other position, one says, this is it, and so says, no, you're mistaken. Here's what you failed to read. So I didn't know that. And then they advance their point of view and say, no, I think you're wrong here. You haven't done your research. How about this and this? Person says, oh, you're right, I didn't do that research. And this verbal debate back and forth goes on in Israel. In Israeli part of learning is this debate. So here's what's important, is to debate the major life issues. In good health today, the great debate is on, which has given us advances we've never had before. So here's what you must be, though, in the debate: a good student. Open to learning, defending and learning. That's what's important, not just to defend, but to defend and learn. Defend your point of view until it's obvious that you've got to give some ground here because you haven't done your research. But this debating is important. We have to debate the health issues. One health book says, do this, you'll live forever. The second health book says, if you do that, you'll die young. So here's what we should do. Make the note. Be a student, not a follower. This is important advice. Not to be followers, but to be students. Be no one's disciple except the Lord's. You wind up in Waco, Texas. Be no one's disciple. But be a student. Someone says these 2 books now have opposing views about health. Here's what you should do. Answer: read both books and make up your own mind. Read both books and see if you can't figure out some way so that it applies to you, maybe drawing from both presentations. Not to follow one or the other, but to draw from one or the other, or maybe both, and develop a plan for you. Here's some of the best advice I've got for you. Make sure what you finally do is the product of your own conclusion. Make sure what you finally do in your financial pursuit, in your health pursuit, in building a good family pursuit, in developing your spirituality, make sure what you finally do in pursuit of that is the product of your own conclusion, meaning you've processed differing points of view. You've processed what you've learned, matched with what someone is teaching you. Here's what's important. No one voice has all the answers. I certainly don't. I only have my point of view. I only have my perception. But my perception may be valuable. What if I say to you, did you ever look at this from over here? And you say no. So you walk over here where I am and you take a look and you say, wow, I never saw it from over here before. And maybe that look, from my point of view, is an interesting perception. It may reveal something that from over there, looking at it, you missed it. You missed my point of view. Not that my point of view is the point of view, but it is a point of view. Right? There's a difference between a point of view and the point of view. Here's the first skill that revolutionized my life: sales. learning to present a product and service to the marketplace. I multiplied my income by 5 first year. Multiple skills. So now I got 2 skills. Milking cows and making sales. But the skill revolutionized my life. I had never seen that perspective before of how I could so dynamically affect my income by learning this extra skill. Amazing. So be eager to learn, argue later, but debate, right? Is it for me or isn't it for me? Do I have the temperament? What is the deal? Should I start now and learn, or should I postpone it? What should I do? All of this stuff is very good. Turn it over in your mind till finally you decide. Next, become a good listener. It is difficult. We live in such a busy time. It's going to be a little difficult to shut everything out for 2 days. Just concentrate here. Because our life's out there, right? Our family's out there, and our friends are out there, and our business is out there, and things are going on out there. Things are happening out there, right? And sometimes out there, we get distracted thinking a lot about what's out there. But if you can, to the best of your ability, zero in here, give you the best of your attention that you possibly can. Let me just at least start our first subject for today. It's called enlightened self-interest. Part of human nature is self-protection. Part of human nature is self-survival, self-development so that we can defend ourselves and explore the possibilities in ourselves. Self-interest. Now here's the big question. Is that okay, self-interest? And here's my best answer. If it's enlightened. If it's enlightened. Otherwise it turns to selfishness. And here's the unique thing about selfishness. It is not in your best self-interest. We must learn that early. When a little child grabs something away from another child and is selfish, doesn't want to share it, say no. That is not in your best interest. And at first it doesn't seem like it. At first it seems like, no, what's in my best interest is what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine, and this whole sort of selfish idea. But this is part of becoming a civilized society, is learning that truly in the long run your best interest is served by not being selfish. But here's what we cannot do: deny our own self-interest. But if our self-interest becomes educated, it can be uniquely served so that everyone benefits and no one loses. How could it be possible to work in your own self-interest and still no one else lose? It's very interesting. Let me give you the first idea. The question was asked once, way back. What does it take to be great? What is the key to greatness? And that's a good question for everybody to make a note of. What is the key to greatness? The full development of our potential, because that's really 2 parts to life. It's the full development of our potential and the wise use of all of our resources. You can't describe life, human life, any better than that. The full development of all of our potential and the wise use of all of our resources. That's worth a few books. Just those 2 sentences is worth several books. Full development of all of our potential and the wise use of all of our resources. But in the development of our potential, the question was asked, how can we be great? Or should we even seek for greatness? Now the answer was given, how to be great. So it must have been okay. And let me break it down for you. The key to greatness, how to act in your own self-interest, but still not diminish the interest of anyone else. And it's a very simple answer. Now, greatness could be defined in many ways. Great wealth, great power, great influence, great self-esteem, great self-respect. There's many kinds of greatness, but how could we achieve all of that greatness in some measure or ongoing measure? How could we achieve that? Here was the simple answer. It said this: find a way to serve the many. Find a way to serve the many. It is the greatest key to self-interest. Now, at first it doesn't seem like it, but that's what education is all about. Is to take what at first seems to be the best and then find out later, no, that's right, that's not the best. In teaching financial independence to kids, guess what we teach? Someone say, what's best now is to spend your money. Oh, that's what seems to be best. That's what seems to be best. But if you give it a little thought now and attend a couple of classes, guess what you'll learn? That isn't the best. What I first thought was the best turned out, when I was more educated, that wasn't the best. So here's what we teach kids. The best is discipline of your resources. So here's what we teach kids. Do what you have to as quick as you can so you can do what you want to as long as you can. Do what you have to. Save your money. Invest your money. Do what you have to. Conserve your resources. Exercise the discipline now, because then that later leads to many years of self-satisfaction. So that's what education is all about, to turn around what seems to be our best interest and say, no, now I understand that isn't what's best. You got a toothache. You got a cavity in your tooth. What seems to be best is just to neglect it. Say, oh, but here's what's the problem with the cavity. It doesn't get better. So you got to go take care of it. And the dentist says what? You can take care of it now, it only costs this much. Later, costs this much. So you can pay me now or pay me later. You say, hey, in my own best interest, what? Better to pay up front. Discipline is better up front. Now, so that we can enjoy those later years, to have plenty. So here's what it says. If you wish to be great in all kinds of greatness, have trophies to put on the mantle above the fireplace. If you wish all that kind of greatness, recognition and respect and all of it, here's the key. Find a way to serve. So we might shorten it to read like this. Service to many leads to greatness. Now at first that doesn't seem to create personal greatness, serving others. But now when we become educated, we finally find out, yes, that's true. Service to many leads to greatness. Key phrase. If you wish to be ruler over many, now wishing to be great would seem as a statement of your own self-interest, which is true. But we're talking now about enlightened self-interest. Find a way to serve. Now we come to the next one. If you wish to be ruler over many, nothing wrong with that, to be ruler over many. Here's what it says. Be faithful when the amounts are small. To rule over many, be faithful when you have just a few. Someone says, well, if I had a big organization, I'd really take good care of it, but I've only got 3 or 4, I don't know where they are. See, that's not the key. The key is to really know where the 3 or 4 are. Take exceptionally good care of the 3 or 4. Because if you become faithful, if you become disciplined in giving your best attention and the best you've got to the few, now you begin to qualify now to have the many to preside over. The many will come if you pass the test of the few. Someone says, if I had a fortune, I'd really take good care of it, but I've only got a paycheck. I don't know where it goes. See, that's interesting. We ask you, what about your money? You say, I don't know where it all goes. Should we let you run the company? You don't know where it all goes? He says, yeah, my money just gets away from me. Oh, we should let you run the world, right? Said, no. Because if you can't be master over a few pennies, should we give you a fortune? The answer is no way. Let's see what this person does with a paycheck. Then life and opportunity will decide later whether they deserve to double, triple, quadruple their income multiplied by 10. Why multiplied by 10 if you don't do a good job with what it is? So the key to greatness in your own self-interest is find a way to serve. And number 2, be faithful when the amounts are small. Now, here's what's exciting. Learning to give is in your own best interest. It doesn't seem like giving something is in your own best interest. But here's what it says. If you wish to receive, and if you wish to receive, we would call that wishing for your own self-interest, wishing to receive. But here's how you receive in your own best interest, and that is to give. If you give, you will receive. And you cannot understand that unless you're educated. From the very earliest moments of being a child, you can't understand that unless you're educated. In fact, here's what it says. It's better to give than to receive. Now, see, at first, that doesn't seem right. At first, but here's what you can get at first. Faked out until you become educated. At first, it seems like it's better to receive than it is to give. And you say, no, You must be educated to understand. It's better to give than it is to receive. Now, here's why. Giving starts the receiving process. Wouldn't that be acting in your own self-interest, is to do something that started the receiving process? And the answer is yes. Now I understand. Now I can act in my own self-interest in an enlightened way instead of a destructive way. Next, in your own self-interest, life responds to deserve, not to need. These are some of the most important notes of the 2 days. If you understand this, the rest is probably simple. Life responds to deserve, not to need. Life was not designed to give us what we need. Life was designed to give us what we deserve. Now, not in a moral sense now. This is just in a basic sense. There are certain moral challenges as well, spiritual and moral. But here's what the great law says. It does not say if you need, you will reap. That's not what it said. Someone says, I really need to reap. Then you must learn the basic law. And without education, see, you'll be left behind. Here's what it says. In order to reap, you must plant. Guess who deserves to reap? Those who plant. So, could I deserve something unique and valuable? Yes, if you understand the law, if you understand how it works in your own self-interest. We must plant, we must give to the soil, we must turn it loose, we must let it do its work, we must have patience, take care of it. Now we deserve the reaping. If you need, you must plant. Next, if you need to find, in your own self-interest, if you need to find, here's what it says, you must search to find. Finding is reserved for those that search. They're the ones that deserve it. Somebody who says, this person really needs to find a good idea, then they must go searching. You must go to the library. You must go to the seminars. You must go to the sermon. You must go to and listen to the lyrics of the song. You must go to where education is being taught. You must go to where good ideas are being shared. Go to. Rarely does a good idea interrupt you. Rarely. Good ideas are like mining for gold. You got to develop the mental machinery to go look, go sifting, go searching, go looking. And if you search, what? You will find the promise is there for everyone in their own self-interest. You'll find all you need to find. If you search for it, you'll find everything you need for your health, everything you need for a flourishing lifestyle, everything you need for a good marriage, everything you need to strengthen your friendship, everything you need for economics. You will find if you'll do like you did today. Spend a couple of days searching, taking a look, seeing if someone has some good ideas to share. All things are conditional. God says, I'm an amateur on God, but God says, if you'll move toward me, I will move toward you. It's always conditional, which could also be translated, God says, you don't move, I don't move. You say, well, that's arbitrary. When you're God, you can set it up that way. Remember, your planet, you can rearrange all this, change it all. But on this one, here's what's interesting. What you move toward tends to move toward you. If you move toward education, it starts to seek you out. This is one of the unique positive mysteries. Whatever you move toward you, if you move toward progress seems to want to now embrace you. All life seems to wish to reward its benefactor. If you become the benefactor, you'll receive these incredible rewards. If you're the benefactor to the garden, the flowers seem to bloom and say, look at me, look how bright and beautiful I am because you took care of me. I wish to reward you by being beautiful, lovely, spectacular. Your own children, if you become their benefactor, they want to reward you with their progress. I taught my daughters how to swim, right? My daughters would say, and to dive. And my daughters would say, Daddy, watch, look what you've created here. You've spent the time with me and it didn't go well, now look at me. This is the payoff, watch me dive. I was their benefactor, now all life wishes to respond to the benefactor. Those who give their time, give their effort, give their patience, give their ideas, the benefit of their experience. Now, whatever has benefited from that wishes to respond. The crop wishes to grow. The child wishes to show you how much progress they've made. That is so exciting. Okay, here's the last part on this. In your own self-interest, it's better to pay. It's better to pay than to get it for free. Someone says, I wish I could get it for free. Not really, because for free, doesn't make anything of you. Here's a good phrase to remember. I wish to pay fair price for everything, for what it makes of me to pay. For the development I must achieve to be able to pay, that's more valuable than to pay and to receive. Promise is on the other side of price. Should we give you the promise without the price? And the answer is no. That would violate the whole deal. Helping kids to change their vocabulary. A child says, I need $10. Said, that doesn't unlock the vault here. What unlocks the vault? How could I earn $10? Now, see, there's plenty of money here. You just got to use the right language. And the vault comes open. There's the money. There's the door. If you use the right language, part of it is language. We're going to learn tomorrow about financial independence. Part of it's language. Here's what I teach kids, not to have a savings account. It's important not to have a savings account. Here's what's important, to have an investment account. You want an account that pays. So, I understand. An investment account, not a savings account. An account that pays you interest. So, the magic language around the house for the kids. How can I earn $5? Not I need $5, not give me $5. How could I earn $5? How could I earn $10? Now here's what's important. Even more important than the $10 that achieves the objective is the development, the personal development that comes from being able to pay. Being able to pay is more valuable than receiving. Getting something is never enough. Paying for it, earning it is the real value. I got 4 parts to the day that turns your life around, and then we're finished for the day. Number 1, disgust. Disgust is a negative emotion, but it can have a very positive, powerful effect. Disgust says, I've had it. What an important day that could be. I met a beautiful, powerful, accomplished executive lady in New York. Company invited me to come in. This lady was a vice president, extraordinary lady. I got to know her and I found out her story. I said, how did you get here? Big income. And she never went to college, never went to university. I said, how did you get here? Executive. Powerful. Income. She said, let me tell you part of the scenario. She said, when I was a young mother a few years ago, she said, one day I asked my husband for $10. And he said, what for? Before that day was over, I decided I would never, ever ask. She said, I started studying opportunity, found it, took the classes, put myself through the schools, did the scenario. Now I'm vice president. I make a lot of money. And she said, I kept my promise. I've never, ever had to ask again. It's called a life-changing day. The day you say, enough. Now, if you can add an act to your disgust, it helps. The man takes a shotgun to his car, blows out every window, destroys every tire, puts 100 rounds in it, and says, I've driven this embarrassing thing for the last time. And then he saves it. He saves it. And later when somebody says, how did you become rich and powerful? He says, let me show you this car. One day I'd had it up to here, I blew it to smithereens. Here's the last 3. Next is decision. Decision-making is a life-changing day. If you went home today and in the next few days cleaned up a list of decisions, it could furnish enough inspiration for the next 5 years, 10 years. What an inspiring day, the day you can bring yourself to decide. Here's the 3rd one, desire, wanting to bad enough. Who knows the mystery of that? We don't know. But here's something I do know. Sometimes desire waits for a trigger, waits for something to happen. Who knows what the happening may be? A song, the lyrics, a movie, the dialogue, a seminar, a sermon, a book, an experience, confrontation with an enemy, a conversation with a friend who finally levels with you. Whatever the experience it is, it's so valuable. And here's my best advice. Welcome all experiences. You never know which one is going to turn everything. Don't put up the wall. The same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. Take down the wall. Go for the experience. Let it teach you. And here's the last one. Resolve. Resolve says I will. Two of the most powerful words in the language. Best definition of resolve I got from a little junior high girl, Foster City, California. I'm going through some words one day. I got to this one and I asked the kids, who can tell me what resolve means? Some didn't know, some tried. Interesting. The last one was the best. Little girl about 3 rows back, she said, I think I know, Mr. Rohn. I said, what? She said, I think resolve means promising yourself you will never give up. I said, that's the best I've ever heard. She's probably giving seminars somewhere today. That's the best I've heard. I asked the kids, how long should a baby try to learn how to walk? How long would you give your average baby? Any mother in the world would say, you're crazy. My baby is going to keep trying, what? Until. What a magic word. I want you to write it down. Until. Promise yourself you'll read the books until your skills change. You'll go to seminars until you get a handle on it. You'll listen to it until it makes sense. You'll go for it until you understand it. You'll practice it until you develop the skill. Never give up until, however long that is. Then you'll discover some of life's best treasures when you pay that